Hi, Stephen. How are you today?
I'm doing all right.
All right. You had anything in particular going on lately that you want us to address this session?
Um, nothing that I can think of really. No.
Okay, you can take some time to think about it. Maybe talking about your homework will kind of bring something up. So last time we talked about doing some just on your phone kind of tracking of cognitions that you were noticing when you maybe felt like a negative mood come on.
Hmm.
And maybe if you got to it, like conducting a brief evaluation of their like helpfulness or their yeah. So did you get a chance to do that?
Um, well, to be honest, no, I didn't. Um, I guess I don't know if it was just that I don't know. It was in the moment, and maybe it just slipped my mind to do it. It's just like the last thing to really think about doing when I am um, frustrated or angry about something. So no, I didn't get a chance to do it. So
Well, yeah, that totally makes sense. I mean, I asked you to kind of do something you had never done before in moments when you were maybe at a higher stress level or kind of upset. So I appreciate you being honest with me. That's totally fine. I think what that I think what might be helpful, and you let me know if you think this would be helpful as well, is we can kind of go through it together this session, and maybe it'll make it easier for you to do on your own in the future. Does that sound
okay,
okay?
yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, awesome. Um, so last week you we were talking about your thoughts on, maybe tensions with your wife, feeling like you weren't a good dad. Have you been experiencing kind of similar thoughts this week, or you want to go in a different direction?
Um, yeah, some of the same things or themes have been reoccurring. Um, so we can go with that. Those thoughts of not being a good dad, I guess, or not helping out around the house.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that sounds good. I will what I have here is a dysfunctional thought record, and it's kind of a more in-depth um uh like analysis of what your homework was. So your homework was kind of like a brief version, and this is the full version. And if you remember me talking about distorted thoughts, and how they're automatic and everybody has them and they can affect us in a really negative way. And if we can learn to acknowledge those thoughts and evaluate them, um, hopefully the goal is to lift that negative affect and kind of improve our mood. So, what you have in front of you is the DTR, and I'm going to pull mine up as well so that we can follow along together. So I want you to think about a situation in the past week where, like a specific happening that made you made you have that thought that like I'm a bad dad.
Okay. Um, maybe like when I um, accidentally drop something or something when he's taking a nap and wakes him up.
Okay. Okay. So you drop something Woke up the
Or,
baby.
yeah, or just make noise in the kitchen or something,
Yeah.
accidentally wake them up.
Yeah. I mean, I know babies are very difficult to get to sleep. And once they're asleep, you want them to stay asleep. So I can imagine that would be frustrating. Okay. So when that happened, that's the first column there. So you can go ahead and jot something down, whenever you need to kind of keep track of what we're doing here.
Okay.
The next column is the emotion or feeling associated with the situation. So in that moment, what did you feel?
Um, is this feelings or thoughts? Just the feelings?
Yeah, just the emotion.
Okay. I guess like mad at myself, frustration.
Mad at yourself,
Um,
frustrated.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Mm,
those are perfect. Not perfect. They're bad feelings, but yeah, that's what we were looking for. So mad, frustrated. Something that we like to do in CBT is we like to assign a percentage of like how much at 1 out of 100, how much you believed or how much you like felt that in that moment. So the reason we do this is so that we can keep track of those negative emotions at the beginning of the intervention and at the end. And we can see if this is actually something that's working for you. So if you were to give mad at yourself, or percentage, what would you give 1 to 100?
mm, Probably like 70%.
70. Okay. So that's pretty high. Um, now what about frustrated? Because I personally think that mad and frustrated are kind of two different emotions.
Okay. Mm, I'd say maybe like 60%.
60%. Okay. All right. So go ahead and jot those down as well. Mad, 70%, frustrated, 60%. And we'll keep those on the chart. Now, you were kind of getting your head of yourself earlier, asking about cognitions. This is the column for that. So you're feeling this emotion. You know, most of us kind of hear like a little voice in our head saying things like, and those are our cognitions. So they're normally in the form of a sentence, a statement, and they kind of happen without us even thinking about it. So if you can recall in that moment, what were some of your thoughts?
Oh crap. I did it again. Wife's gonna be mad at me. Baby's gonna wake up and take forever to put back to sleep.
Okay.
Yeah, I think those are the main ones.
Okay. Yeah, so those all we can put in that column. And I guess we started this DTR talking about the I'm a bad dad thing. Did that go through your head?
Yeah,
That thought?
yeah.
I don't want to put words in your mouth. So if you were feeling something else,
I mean, that's not the first thing that goes to my head, but then um like when my wife gets mad at me for making a noise and thinks that I did it on purpose, then I start having those thoughts of I'm a bad dad.
okay. Okay.
Does that
So
make sense?
that absolutely makes sense. So I think uh because we want to really target those dysfunctional thoughts, right? Things
Mhm.
like, oh crap, I did it again. You know, you're right. Those are automatic thoughts. And but they're not distorted per se. I think those are pretty normal, like kind of reactionary thoughts. So this like I'm a bad dad thing, I want to focus our time on that one, because I would imagine that that particular thought probably impacts you a little bit more than, oh, I did it again. Would I be right in saying that?
Yeah, definitely so.
Okay. So let's jot that one down, and it's you can word it however you feel comfortable. I know I keep saying, I'm a bad dad, but I want to make sure that you're comfortable with the way that we're wording it, because it is your thought. And just like the emotions, we're going to assign, instead of like a severity, it's more of a certainty. So how much did you believe that thought in that moment? Your wife's mad at you, thinks you did it on purpose. 1 to 100%, how much did you believe the thought, I'm a bad dad?
Probably like 80%.
80%. Okay, so pretty high. Well, that must be really tough for you to be thinking about it that way. And hopefully we can kind of tackle that a little bit. So the next column here is evidence that supports the thought. So basically, I know this one can be kind of tough because might not want to think about the reasons that your cognition might be true, but and you can say that you don't have any evidence for it. I mean that, but generally, sometimes automatic thoughts are based in maybe like a smidge of reality in your mind, but not enough to make the cognition fact, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I do have things that make me sometimes think that, but I feel like I don't have much choice. So, for example, I have to work 60 hours a week because I'm doing practicum. And so I can't spend as much time at the house. And that alone can sometimes make me feel like a bad dad, especially when my wife is like, you're never around to help. But then again, I don't have much choice. My work won't let me work part-time and I have to complete my practice. So thankfully that's over now. But that probably could be considered evidence, although I realize it wasn't much I can do to control it. Anything else?
That's okay. That's perfect, actually. Because it doesn't have to be something that we have control over. It's just anything really in our current circumstances that contribute to that thinking. So maybe, and you can correct my wording here again, but so I'm not at home enough with the kid and my wife. Is that maybe some evidence?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So now we're going to go to that evidence that does not support the thought column. So can you think of any reasons why maybe your cognition is not true?
Any reasons to support that I am a good dad? Is that another way to?
Yeah, you could think about it that way.
Okay. Well, I feel like I do my best in helping out when I can, when I'm home. And, I'm working a lot and going to school so that I can provide for my family. Um, and I don't mean to make noise and wake them up. I don't do those things on purpose.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I think those are all great points. You're doing your best. You're working hard so that you can provide for your family. And accidents happen. You don't wake up the baby on purpose, and you're human. Doesn't make you a bad dad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's great.
I never really looked at it that way. So it's kind of nice to see it in a different perspective.
Yeah, we need to praise ourselves some of the time. I feel like we're really harsh on ourselves, and can tell you just from my experience that dads who are worried that they're being a bad dad are not the bad dads, because the bad dads don't care. So from what I'm hearing, you sound like you care a lot about your family, and that is absolutely evidence that does not support your cognition.
Mm-hmm.
So using our evidence for, our evidence against, and our cognition, how can we kind of structure maybe an alternative thought that is more based in reality? You can take a second to think about it. I can help you out if you need help.
Just because I, accidentally wake him up doesn't mean that I'm a bad dad.
That's great. Just because I accidentally woke up, that doesn't make me a bad dad. And just like our distorted cognition that we looked at a few columns back, you're going to assign a certainty to this alternative thought now. 1 out of 100%, 1 to 100%.
How strongly I believe that to be true? I'd say 100%.
100%. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. I know it might not be 100% all the time, but that's great, Stephen. That's really great.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, we are going to look at those emotions that you put in the second column there. So in this moment, kind of after evaluating your thought, how mad are you? 1 to 100%.
I would say like 20%.
20. All right. Okay, well, that's significantly lower. That's good. And how about frustrated?
Probably 20% as well.
Yeah. You don't expect it to go down to 0. I mean, it's still a frustrating situation for sure. So, but that dramatic decrease is that is what we're looking for. So, so how did you feel about that, filling out that DPR?
I think it was good. Like I said, it kind of helped put a new twist on it and see it with a more positive perspective.
Okay, good to hear. Do you think you could probably do it on your own without guidance in the future?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think I could.
Yeah, you're a smart guy. I believe in you. In that case, I think what I would like to do, I can pull this up here. So I know last week was a bit difficult completing the homework, and maybe we kind of jumped into the evaluating cognitions a little quickly. So we're going to try again. I'm going to send you home with several dysfunctional thought record sheets, and you can, if opportunity presents itself, try to fill at least one of those out. Okay. In a moment where you're feeling really bad and kind of noticing some dysfunctional automatic thoughts. Okay.
Okay.
So at least one, that's what we're going to try for. If you have multiple times throughout the next week where you feel like it applies and you want to fill one out, great. And as always, this is just a goal. We're in this together. So, I want to thank you again for being honest with me about the homework last week, and know that, you're not going to ever be in trouble or anything for not getting it done. This is all to help you. So, I know I always ask you this, but on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident do you think you are that you'll be able to complete at least one DTR?
Well, I scored myself high last time and didn't do it. So I'm not going to score myself high, but maybe like a 7.
7 out of 10? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good to me. Okay. Well, do you have any final thoughts before we end here, Stephen?
No, I don't. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for coming in to see me again. I will see you in a week.